let's get a better sense of what's taking place and help you connect the dots. With us in studio here in Auckland Park is our international desk editor, Sophie Mokoena, who does a brilliant job as always at helping us understand what's actually taking place even behind closed doors. Great to see you, by the way.
Thanks you so much, Ayanda. Yeah, it has been,
Yeah, indeed, and I think that's the sentiment from a lot of people, both in the Middle East, watching from afar. It feels like the world is a whole lot less safer than it used to be, dare I say, even a year ago. But let's take a few steps back. What we know now is just reports, because interestingly enough, both Israel and Iran are yet to kind of issue out official statements.
Yes, it's true. Clearly, the two countries are waiting to respond to if one issues a statement or has issued a statement, and they will then rebut. It's a terrible psychological warfare. We often talk about the psychological warfare. I never thought in my lifetime I will be caught in a psychological warfare where I don't sleep, where I'm struggling to make sense of what's happening, where my whole body is drained because I'm trying to make sense, because you have to communicate the correct message. So it's clear. It looks like Israel did something, not much, and therefore Iran was able to intercept those drones. And now Iran is saying they are not going to retaliate after this skirmish or this little action or movement by Israel. But we don't know whether Israel is testing waters. But remember, Israel is under pressure from its allies not to go big in terms of retaliation, because Iran has threatened that it is going to double its attack on Israel should Israel retaliate. Remember, the attack weekend was directed at military capability and the bases, not the residential areas. They avoided casualties in terms of ordinary citizens. Now, we don't know what will be Israel's reaction or plan or strategy. And therefore, it's a war game. It's a psychological warfare. And as Sarah pointed out, these two countries they both have the nuclear capability, and that's the fear. And that is why the International Atomic Energy Agency quickly issued a statement this morning on its account to allay fears that nothing has happened to Iran's nuclear sites. And therefore, I think the world is a bit calmer, but worried what will be the action. But perhaps let's go back. On Monday, I spoke to Ehud Barak, the former Prime Minister of Israel.
Right.
I also spoke to the Iranian diplomat in response about whether Israel will retaliate, and if Israel retaliate, what is Iran going to do? Let's take a listen at this clip. First, it is Ehud Barak talking about Israel must retaliate, and then you have Iran saying if they do it, we must wait. Remember, we attacked them because they killed our diplomats in Syria. Let's take a lesson.
No, Israel has to respond because no country suffered such an attack in history. It's probably unheard of that hundreds of missiles, drones, and cruise missiles are attacking a country. And if we accept in our disturbed neighborhood, a tough neighborhood, the Middle East, no mercy for the weak, no second opportunity for those who cannot protect themselves. And this kind of attack cannot pass without response. But having said that, we do not have any interest in going into a full-scale war with the whole region and with Iran.
But this is what's going to happen. But this is what's going to happen. If you hit back, Iran made it clear that they will even use more powerful force. This is escalation.
Yeah, I understand what you say, and that's one of the reasons that I am confident that our war cabinet, will consider very seriously when and how to respond.
It's like that some people think that there is a jungle, and they act like the white animal. They kill that one. So someone, a wise, brave person should come and say, hey bro, it's not a jungle. Let's discipline you. So this was a peacemaking response to this jungle behavior of the Zionists.
Sure, strong rhetoric on both sides. And I imagine both countries don't want to be seen as not doing anything, but at the same time, they also don't want to be seen as the ones who actually started what could very well be a full-scale war.
Exactly, because clearly with the nuclear capability from both sides, we're sitting at a time where the world will not really be happy and there will be panic. It is going to affect the global economy.
Yeah.
We saw earlier on the oil price going up, and therefore it is a mess. It is a mess, and we know that the problem here, you have to address the root cause, the Palestinian question.
Yeah.
As long as you have Palestinians fighting for their freedom, for their rights and their land, because the Israel settlements are part of the occupation, and you are not going to have peace in the Middle East. Unfortunately, it looks like, clearly the United Nations is paralyzed. The Security Council that is supposed to maintain peace is paralyzed. We saw what happened yesterday when they couldn't even approve a resolution that's calling for the recognition of Palestine as a full member of the UN.
Yeah.
United States of America veto that resolution, and therefore it can't go through, even though majority of member states within the Security Council were supporting the resolution. And therefore we don't have leaders with vision, with empathy, and who are leading by example at this moment, at this juncture, at this era. Unfortunately, we live at that time where the world leadership is questionable.
Sure. And one certainly gets a sense that it's not hundreds of thousands of lives that are at risk, but multilateralism itself, right? Because even if we look back in history, well, if let's say we look back at this moment, it's going to be difficult for the UN to ask anybody to once again give it that custodianship of trying to maintain the peace that you've alluded to.
I always watch the Secretary General Antonio Guterres, how helpless he is. I mean, he is one Secretary General who presided over this world body at a time where it's useless, if I may put it that way.
Wow.
Because they failed to resolve Ukraine. They are failing to resolve Sudan. Now the Middle East. And the Middle East question, it's a long-standing conflict. And therefore, you are correct to say multilateralism is in danger. We know that countries such as South Africa and the countries in the South are insisting that you have to strengthen multilateralism, because that's the only way. You cannot go for unilateralism. And that is why, even much as we may criticize the US, that's what US is trying to do behind the scenes, to say, no, Israel, don't act in a manner that it will weaken the position and the debate about strengthening of multilateralism, because then the world will be in danger. And that is why even countries in Europe who are allies are insisting that, please, Israel, don't move. But Israel has a problem. If they don't do anything, they are going to look weak. And that is the reason perhaps we saw that mini action, and deliberately so. They didn't want to really go out and retaliate, because they are also listening to their allies. Remember, it's the allies who came in and intercepted those drones from Iran. And therefore, we'll see what's going to happen today. But
Yeah.
I will ask Minister Naledi Pandor later today with his Egyptian counterpart who is in the country. And you know, Egypt is part of the Arab League, and also Egypt does communicate with both sides.